Welcome back to NFL on 365 Sports. I'm Grayson Gruenhafer, and we are going to continue to recap these NFL draft selections. Today, we are talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and their epic draft class. Let's do it. Okay, guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm really excited to talk about the Green Bay Packers today. This was a draft that I felt like for the Packers was a really important one, and one that I think a lot of people had high expectations for. And it just feels like a team that is kind of right on the verge of, are they going to compete for a championship or are they going to rebuild? And I think this draft really signified that they're still ready to compete. They got Aaron Rodgers back, so you know they're trying to win championships while they still have him there. So I think they did everything they could to try to make the team better as a whole, while also not giving up on the future. And also while not going away from kind of what their plan has been all along. And what I mean by that is when a GM has a formula for success, they usually follow that formula. And that's what the Packers did in this draft. So I'm going to go pick by pick for the first 3 rounds of the draft. I'll talk about a couple late round picks that I like as well, and then give the Packers a grade at the end. So let's start with their first pick. It was round 1, pick 22, and they went with Quay Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia. You're going to hear 2 names from Georgia with the Packers' first 2 picks. And the thing of it is Georgia had one of the most historic defenses you're really going to see. Outside of the SEC championship game against Alabama, they really were just utterly dominant the entire year. And so going with Quay Walker really gives them some versatility. And Quay is a great athlete. There's no doubt about that. He can play nickel. He can play inside linebacker. He can even move over to the edge and be a pass rusher from the edge spot. So when you look at that match with the speed and agility, you go, man, this guy's a home run pick, right? Well, there are also some things that I have question marks about. And so while I love him as a prospect athletically, and I love the versatility that he brings to the Packers defense, I have major concerns with the production. He has 130 tackles the last 3 seasons. That's solid. But if you look at some of the best linebackers across the country, some of those guys are having nearly 100 tackles in 1 year. So Quay's a little bit behind in that regard. Doesn't have a ton of tackles for loss and sacks either. So my concern there is, while he's an amazing athlete, does it translate onto the field as far as being a disruptive playmaker? Now, to combat that a little bit, he played in a loaded Georgia defense, so the opportunities for big plays in the backfield may have not been there for him. Other guys might have been able to take advantage of that more so than him. He wasn't really asked to, be in the backfield in the run game or really do a whole lot in coverage either. He was kind of there to be a leader for the defense while also kind of moving around the defense and being versatile. So those type of things make it a little bit just a question mark for me, is how productive is he going to be in the NFL, and where are the Packers going to put him the most to make sure that he's in position to succeed. A really interesting draft pick, a guy with high upside, but I also think a low floor with their first pick in this draft. Moving on to pick number 28, still in the first round, the Packers' second first-round pick. And once again, this is a team that has just decided, you know what, we're going to load up on defense. We feel really good about what Aaron Rodgers can do, what the run game can do. So let's make sure our defense is good enough to actually compete to try to win a Super Bowl. So they went right back to the Georgia well again, and they went and got Devontae Wyatt, the defensive tackle out of Georgia, 6'3", 315 pounds, an absolute mammoth of a prospect, really going to fit in nicely to the interior of the defensive line, and is a guy who, again, has high upside. 315 pounds running a 4.77, that is absolutely crazy. So I really like the ceiling here, but again, I think it's another risky pick for this Packers team. It's a first-round pick, and you're using it on 2 guys who have an amazing athletic profile, but the production really is not there. He had 5 sacks, in his time at Georgia, which is okay. He wasn't really asked to be a sack machine. He's more of a guy who is very tough to move while also being able to be disruptive in the run game. So solid at both of those, but the question marks are definitely there for how good is he going to be at the next level? Does his quickness translate? And does his time at Georgia, where, going along with kind of what I've talked about, it's hard to get production on a great defense because there's so many productive guys, but it's also like, where did he rank in that pecking order? How good was he compared to the other guys on the Georgia defense? And also, how much were his weaknesses hidden because the defense was just so good there this past season? So another pick I have a little bit of a question mark with, but there's no doubt another high ceiling guy. And also, don't forget that kind of defensive tackle linebacker relationship from college with he and Quay Walker could be very beneficial to the Packers defense next season. Moving on to round 2, pick 34, and the Packers are just sticking with this formula. Athlete over proven production. Athlete over a guy who absolutely dominated on the field. And they did it again. Round 2, pick 34, Christian Watson, the wide receiver out of North Dakota State. Probably one of the more polarizing prospects in the entire class, especially at the wide receiver position. So this guy is an absolute freak show of an athlete. 6'4", 208 pounds, ran a 4.36 40. I mean, holy cow. That is just completely different, completely unique. Elite explosiveness with a 38.5-inch vertical, high-end broad jump over 11 feet. That's just ridiculous. So to put in perspective, his relative athletic score, which basically encompasses your size, your weight, your speed, your agility, your explosiveness jumping-wise. Here are the guys that are just ahead of him, but he's still in the same ballpark. Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, Andre Johnson, Chase Claypool. That is a really good group of guys right there. I mean, 3 of them are Hall of Famers. One of them, Chase Claypool, is a guy who has tremendous upside. The other great thing about Christian Watson is he broke out as a sophomore, had a really productive season at North Dakota State. Last 3 years, 96 receptions, 1,975 yards, and 14 touchdowns. So a lot of production the last 3 years. And he also had 400 yards on the ground. So look for the Packers to potentially use him in screen game and also reverses and things along those lines. I think he can be a nice little weapon in that regard as well. Some of my concerns. Production is solid, not elite, and he was playing at the FCS level where he played for North Dakota State, who is a powerhouse compared to the teams they're playing against. So I do have a concern there. I also have a concern with drops. He has one of the highest drop rates in this entire class for the wide receiver position, so it's something he's going to have to improve upon. And obviously with Aaron Rodgers, if you drop a football, there's a chance he might not throw it to you again the rest of the game. If you've watched the Packers play, he definitely does that at times. And he also, Rodgers finds guys who are his favorites, and he really targets them heavily. So we'll see if Watson can, build that trust with Aaron Rodgers early. But if he hits, this could be the best wide receiver prospect in this draft. That's how athletic he is. That's how unique he is as a prospect. So I actually really like this pick. I kind of thought they'd go with a safer wide receiver, maybe either earlier in the draft or maybe, trade down and get someone like a Sky Moore, something along those lines, just a safer prospect. But I like that they swung for the fences because if he hits, Aaron Rodgers is going to have a great, great wide receiver prospect for the next few years. Moving on to their round 3 pick 92, Sean Ryan, offensive lineman out of UCLA, 6'5", 321 pounds. I like him. I think he's more of a guard or a right tackle, even though he does have 3 straight seasons as a starter at left tackle. I just don't know that I see that translating to the NFL. Obviously, the Packers will start him at tackle, more valuable position, see what you have with him there, and then potentially slide him down to guard if it's just not going to work out. But ultimately, right tackle or guard is my likely fit. But I do think he's a solid prospect. He does everything pretty well. Good in pass protection, a solid run blocker, not elite at either, but solid at everything. And when you get a guy like that, you just need him to continue to grow and continue to build and then put him at the right position. And once you're able to do that, you have a guy who's very versatile. And the reason I say that is because if you have a left tackle injury and this guy has to play left tackle, at least he has 3 years and over 30 starts of experience at left tackle to give you a starter in a pinch. So I like that pick. A versatile offensive lineman is always needed in the NFL. Late picks included 2 wide receivers, 2 offensive linemen, a linebacker, a defensive tackle, and a safety. Really deep draft class for the Packers this year. 2 guys I really want to mention here because I think they could have an impact, one in the immediate future and one maybe down the line. The immediate future guy is Romeo Doubs out of Nevada. I really like him. I think he's a guy in the 4th round who could get on the field pretty quickly. The Packers don't have a lot of proven wide receiver guys, and so I think Romeo could be one who steps into a role immediately and potentially fills in a nice role for Aaron Rodgers and becomes a bit of a safety blanket. I do view him as a slot receiver at the NFL level. And then also I really like Zach Tom out of Wake Forest, the offensive lineman. I think he's a very nice late round pick. I think that he can be a potential future starter at the NFL level, like his size, very solid in pass protection, and also getting better in the run game as well. It's just tough because at Wake Forest, that offense was so unique and so different from NFL offenses. I think it will take him some time to develop into a true NFL offensive lineman. Now, as far as the grade goes, I think the Packers took a lot of risks in this class, which gives them a high ceiling, but also a low floor in total. So I'm going to give them a B-. I like this class. It's just the risk. I can't repeat it enough because you have an opportunity here to have a great team and you have an opportunity to get Aaron Rodgers' proven weapons, and they decided to go with risky defensive prospects, a risky wide receiver. So now it's just all about, do they hit or do they not? And so right now I'm going to give it a B- just because I felt like the risk was a little higher than I was hoping for this Packers draft class. So that's it for the Packers. I'll be back later this week to talk about a few more draft classes throughout the week as we continue to recap the 2022 NFL Draft. This has been Grayson Grunhafer on NFL on 365 Sports.